All right, good evening. Today is Monday, December 6, 2021. This is a special meeting and workshop of the Board of Education. Can I have a motion to call the meeting to order? Therese, second. Lori, all in favor? All right, meeting is open. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're a little light on board members tonight, but we'll make do. I think the first thing on our agenda is our presentation and comments. So first up is presentation, preparing students for post-secondary success.
Good evening, trustees, colleagues, parents, community members. Thank you for listening or coming in tonight. Dr. Linehan is also here, and Ms. Sweeney, Dr. Sweeney, and Mr. Keogh, other administrators, and faculty members are also here. We are very pleased to present this tonight for board discussion. Our Tuckahoe guidance counselors are here to talk specifically about post-secondary education options. We're very happy. Jessica Perillo, as many of you know, she's been with the district for 8 years and has really helped build a very strong guidance program. And we're so pleased that Phil Treglia has joined us. He comes with lots of experience, many years of experience from the private school, and is bringing that into our public school. We are really have a great guidance program, and we keep on working hard to raise the bar for all students. So I introduce them, and they have a great presentation for you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Phil Treglia, and partnering with Jessica Perillo, we're excited to present tonight post-secondary success at Tuckahoe High School. Our school year has gotten off to a great start already. Currently, we're finishing our 9th grade meetings with students and parents, and we've met with all of our senior students and parents as well. We have over 65% of our senior class. They've already applied to college. As you know, we as counselors meet the needs of all of our students. Tonight, we're here to talk about post-secondary success, but we also meet the needs of our students socially, emotionally, and academically. Tonight, we're going to touch upon some of these topics that we're going to speak about all night. We'd be happy to answer any questions at the end of our presentation, and we're excited to present that to you again tonight.
All right, so we're going to begin with in-school support. So these are all meetings that we're holding in school. Obviously, due to COVID, we've been doing some of it via Zoom with the parents at home and our students in our office. Our first meeting is with the 9th graders, and this is really just to emphasize getting off to a strong start. We talk about grades and diploma options. In 10th grade, we call it our career exploration year. We go into the classrooms and introduce students to a program called Virtual Job Shadow. They're able to do career interest inventories. They're able to watch videos with that program. Also, even though we don't have a formalized 10th grade meeting, students can request one, parents can request one at any time, and we're happy to hold that. In 11th grade, I would say this is one of the most important meetings, and this is really when we begin the college process. So we start to talk about the application process, college essays a little bit. We talk about the common application and letters of recommendation. We use Naviance, a program that's introduced to our 9th graders. We use it even more in depth in 11th grade. We usually hold these meetings for 11th graders, typically in February of their 11th grade year. That's really when the process gets going for them. Senior year, we meet in the very beginning of the year, again, for a formalized meeting, and that's where we finalize the list of school students are going to. We talk about the specifics on the application process and how to apply. We talk about letters of recommendation and the teachers that they've asked for them. Students stay with us in our caseload from 9th through 12th grade, and we find that very helpful. It allows us to get to know the students. We learn about them, who they are. It helps us to write their letters of recommendation when they get to us. Their senior year, we really get to know them. Our applications are the last piece to it, and throughout senior year, especially in the first half of the year, students are in and out of the guidance office. We're helping to support them throughout the process. You know, sometimes they come in with their Chromebooks, and we're actually walking them through their applications in our office. So we are there to support. Parents are constantly emailing us in the beginning of the year, and we enjoy this process the most. And then the best part is when they come in and give us their acceptances, and they hang their teas up in the hallway. So it's a nice process, and we can watch the whole thing and watch them grow as they go along. So in addition to our in-school meetings, we hold parent presentations outside of school. This process starts for our parents in the 8th grade, actually. So we hold an 8th and 9th grade meeting. This is really where we talk to the parents about, again, the diploma options, the credits they need for New York State. It's an introduction to all of the classes that we have in the high school and our extracurricular activities. We also hold another 10th and 11th grade meeting. This meeting used to just be for 11th graders, and then we realized that the parents of 10th graders really wanted to learn more and get going with the college process, so we expanded it so that they were able to get to understand the process a bit better, and we found that really helpful. Again, we review transcripts every year. Our job is to make sure that they're on track for graduation, so that's done all the time. A big emphasis on getting off to the right start, and we always talk to students and parents in these meetings about how important it is, their transcript, and how every year contributes so much to their GPA and their grade point average. We also hold a senior parent meeting. This is one of the bigger meetings we hold, and this is actually on the application process and how exactly to apply and how the parent can support their student during that process. Not only do we discuss financial aid in our meetings and our parent night, but we've been working with Eastchester. They hold a financial aid night. Usually it's in their library, but the last few years it's been via Zoom. And all of our parents are invited to be a part of that. So if they have specific questions about the FAFSA or federal financial aid, they can ask those questions there. Also in the past, our parents were invited, our senior parents, to our college fair that is offered here at Tuckahoe. It allows them to kind of walk around with their student and talk to admissions representatives as well.
In this slide, we're going to talk about setting a foundation. So for our 9th grade students, we've held a parent meeting. We currently are meeting with all of our 9th grade families and students. We invite the students into our office. We have the parents on a Google Meet or a Zoom, and we're working to talk about the transition to a high school. We show them a transcript so that they understand that 9th grade grades matter. This is where you lay the foundation for their success 3 to 4 years down the road. And that's a major topic that we're hitting on right now in our meetings currently. We show the student and the parent a 4-year academic plan. What classes we offer at Tuckahoe. We show them the curriculum, all of the opportunities they're going to have to take electives or advanced placement classes as we move forward in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. We talk about course selections, how to align their activities, their course selections with their goals 3 to 4 years down the road. In the spring for the 9th graders, we will communicate with them what courses are offered to them in 10th grade. We'll send out a Google form where they're able to communicate with us on their wishes, but we'll talk to them about their grades and what courses fit their strengths and weaknesses. I mentioned the transcript before. We show them what a Tuckahoe High School transcript looks like from one of our past students who've graduated. We show the parents that as well. We communicate the importance of the GPA, the importance of the rigor of the courses. This is why it's so important that we set this stage in the 9th grade meeting in the first semester, so that everyone is on the same page in the beginning of their high school year. In 10th grade, we move to careers, career inventories, and the virtual job shadow. This is a platform where our students can look at videos of the world of work. Our students can see all these careers that they have at their fingertips, what kind of skills they need to be in these careers, and what people actually do in the world of work. I think this is great for teenagers nowadays because they want to see the videos. They want to see actual footage, or they can look on their cell phones, they can look on their laptops, and really connect with what they could be seeing themselves doing 3 to 4 to 5 years down the road in college. We go into the classroom and we present this to the 10th graders. We show them how to access the virtual job shadow. We've talked about this in our meetings already with them, and I think they're excited for this opportunity in 10th grade. In our meetings with 9th and 10th graders, we're going to talk about activities and extracurricular activities, right? How do we get involved in community service? Why is it so important to start when you're a 9th or 10th grader to build from what you started in your community service and show the colleges that you started on the ground floor and what you really did to cultivate this interest and passion 3 years down the line? We talk to our students about getting involved in the arts, the speech and debate team, or a sport, and how to take a leadership role. And that's really what the colleges want to see when you write your personal essay or when you're talking to them in an interview. What are you passionate about? What can you offer the college? And these are all things you can develop in your extracurricular activities and starting when you're in 9th grade. So this is what's being told to all of our students and families in our meetings. The SAT, ACT timeline. All of our 10th grade students will have the opportunity to take the PSAT in the fall here at Tuckahoe in October. We're talking to our students right now about that, the importance of taking the SAT to get some data so we can see the strengths and weaknesses as a 10th grade student and then compare them when they take the practice ACT or practice SAT as an 11th grade student. Our 11th grade year. Our parent and student meeting really starts in February of 11th grade. Our initial meeting, we'll talk about a basket of colleges, right? And we'll introduce the Naviance program, and we'll talk about, some of the dreams our students have, what colleges they want to go to. We'll talk about some realistic choices for them. And then we'll talk about some schools they have a high likelihood of gaining entry into. Where's the location of the school? What does a rural college look like versus what does a city college look like NYU to them? We're trying to give them some ideas and some experience as they go into their visiting. They're going to visit the colleges in 11th grade. What majors are out there for them? Reflecting on their 10th grade year, on their career assessments, and the virtual job shadow, hopefully they have an idea of what majors and minors that they might have interest in. We're going to discuss the ACT and SAT option for them. What does it look like to get your PSAT results, your practice ACT results, and how to determine what test is right for you. We're going to also mention the test optional policy and explore that with each student. But we really would like our students, as much as possible, to take the SAT and ACT to get that data, and then we can make a determination to send the scores or not. In our meeting, we're going to talk about the essay and the letters, the common application prompts. The English class is going to introduce how to write an essay, how to write these letters, and we're going to partner with our English teachers. We're going to advise our students that they need 2 letters of recommendations from a current Tuckahoe High School teacher. 1 letter should come from the social studies ELA area, and 1 letter should come from the math and science area. As well as the counselor is going to write a recommendation for them. We would like the students, and one of our goals is, we would like the students to have their essay as much as possible done before their senior year. And so that's why we're going to emphasize this in February of the junior meeting, and then work with them as they end junior year to have that essay at least done or outlined with their English teacher. As I mentioned before, extracurricular activities. We're going to show them on the common application how to list their extracurricular activities and why it's so important that they get involved after school. The colleges want to see what they're doing when they're outside the Tuckahoe High School building, so it's imperative that they have these extracurricular activities. We're going to list the honors and awards or any community service that they've done. And then last, we're going to talk about deadlines. We want our students to start the Common Application before 11th grade ends, and that's one of the goals of the counseling staff. We'd like the draft of the essay to be done before the summer starts or and into the summer ending. And before they leave in 11th grade, we would like them to ask the teacher for 2 recommendations.
Thanks to a nice grant, we've been able to offer a free SAT, ACT prep course, and we've been doing so for the last few years at this point now. It is offered to our 11th grade students. They take a practice ACT, and they also take a practice SAT. Jumpstart Tutoring, which is our local tutoring program that helps us, compares their data from both of those tests and decides which test they think the student should take. They have a consultation meeting with the families and the students, and they talk about which test and if the parents and the student agree with them. Once they have that decision, the Jumpstart Tutoring program puts students into small group tutoring sessions. So they will match the students up with other students who are about at their same level academically, and we are able to offer them 10 free small group sessions. So 5 of those sessions are for the English and 5 of them are for math. Typically in this timeline, these tutoring sessions end right when students should be taking the SAT or ACT for the first time towards the end of their junior year. Currently, right now, our juniors have just finished taking both of the tests. Jumpstart Tutoring is working on grading everything right now, and then they're reaching out to the families for consultation. So we found this really helpful. If anything, it also just helps to expose our students to both exams for free and during the school day, which we find really helpful. We send out Blackboard Connects to all families with this information, all of our 11th grade families. If the students do not sign up, we've made a big effort, especially this year. We called and reached out to every family that didn't sign up to encourage them to do so and take advantage of this opportunity. So 12th grade, as you know, is a super important year in the college process. This really happens in the beginning of the year. Most of our students are applying early action or early decision. Like Mr. Treglia said, at this point, over 65% of our seniors, over 65 of our seniors have already applied to college. This means that they're applying early action or early decision. So because of that, our timeline is moved up right into the beginning of the year. So we get the ball rolling by meeting with our families and students right away. We review their final list of colleges, and it's our job to make sure in that final list of colleges that they have safety, target, and reach schools. We want to make sure that they are going to get into a college that's appropriate for them and that's a good fit, and we encourage them also to apply to reach schools and to see what happens, and if they get in, it's wonderful. We talk about the Common App and Naviance. So it's a process. These are 2 platforms we use, and the 2 of them connect together. All of the application process is now electronic. So the students submit their applications through the Common Application, and we submit all of their supporting documents through Naviance. So there's a process that we help each of our students with, and we'll sit with them on the computer. It can be a little complicated. We discuss deadlines, like I said, so if a student really wants to finish everything in time for an early action deadline, it's really important that they know when that is and to get all of their information in early. We review their transcripts and their letters of recommendation as well. So during this 12th grade meeting, we make sure that their teachers have written their letters of recommendation already and that they're in the system and ready to go. We review the transcript that will be sent to the colleges as well. We also introduce them to this big, important orange form called the College Processing Form. And without that form, we don't send anything to the colleges. So we make sure that they know when they apply to a school, they fill out this form, and we're able to send all of the supporting documents after we've received that form. We also review, like I said, the FAFSA, Federal Financial Aid. We also review what's called the CSS profile, and that's like financial aid, but for private schools, and they fill that out in addition to the FAFSA. On our website, which we've spent a lot of time kind of curating, we have access to all of these documents and everything that we discussed here. So the Common Application, Naviance, the CSS profile, the FAFSA, all of this stuff that I just touched on is all accessible via our website, just to help parents navigate the process a little easier. We have sample college essays on the website, so we hope that the students are using that as a good resource as well. We also introduced them to our local scholarship process. So Mrs. Nicoletos and Guidance updates our local scholarships, usually in the winter of their senior year. As we get them, students will see if they're appropriate to apply to, and it's a live document. It's a Google document that all of our students are filling out constantly, and we encourage all of our students to get it and to fill out an application and see what happens. We've had a lot of success with these local scholarships as well.
We've been working with Dr. Goodman on a new initiative, and we've decided to call it the College Cafe. For 12th grade students, it's going to be a dedicated time and place for the college application to support them on their application. For 11th grade students, it's a starting point to begin the process. In the fall of 12th grade, we will be working with the students in our office, filling out the Common App, just double checking their work, encouraging them and supporting them through the process and through the stress, really, of doing the Common App. We will be matching the Common Application with the Naviance account, making sure they're matched and that they're able to start sending their applications through Naviance. We'll be reviewing all applications, double checking their essays and any supplemental essays they have for any of the colleges that they're looking to apply to. For the 11th grade students in the spring, one of our goals, like I mentioned, is that all 11th grade students will have a resume done by the end of their 11th grade year. The brag sheet sent out to parents and completed by the end of 11th grade. And we have the opportunity to introduce the college essay to them, to show them some examples of our former students' college essays that are really going to make their application shine. And we want to ensure that all 11th grade students have contacted 2 of their teachers at Tuckahoe and asked for a letter of recommendation before the summer begins. Exposure to schools for our students. We've had a college fair in the past here at Tuckahoe. The 9th graders were introduced to it, and just to see what it looked like. 11th and 12th grade parents were invited, and we've partnered in the past with Bronxville and Eastchester just to make it a little bit of a larger fair and more opportunities for our students. We also share information with our current 12th grade class. Harrison High School offered a in-person college fair, and we were able to share that with all of our students and families, that they were able to go to Harrison High School and attend the fair this fall. More and more of our students are exploring, other areas of the country to go to college. We have a lot of students who are applying in the South and the West, which is exciting. I think the kids are excited about that. They're proud of it. I can hear them talking about it in the hallway, talking about it in our office, and there's definitely a buzz in the student body about doing that. Our college reps, currently, we invite our students into the guidance office, and virtually we'll sit with them, we'll set them up at the guidance table, and they'll do their college rep visits virtually. We facilitate this, we encourage them. Sometimes we go and tap on their shoulder and invite them in. There's an announcement every morning on what colleges are visiting us virtually. We look forward to doing this in person again, but when it's safe to do this in person. So right now we're supporting the virtual visits, and we're getting more and more students to log on.
So we pulled some data off of Naviance. This is the college application platform that we use. And this is just data from the last 3 graduating classes. So this first graph on the left is showing our typical student usually applies from anywhere from 6 to 8 schools. So that's the average application per student. Out of the schools that the students apply to, they typically get into anywhere from 55 to 59% of the schools that they're applying to. So that shows us that they're applying to schools that are appropriate for them. And, you know, as we know, sometimes they get into schools they should, and other times they don't, and the process is confusing, but we do our best to gather the appropriate grouping of schools for them. So if we look at this graph, again, the information's been pulled off of Naviance. Anywhere from 90 to 96% of our students in the last 3 years have attended either a 4- or 2-year college. In the last year, we've seen an increase in the 4-year colleges, so it increased from 69% from the class of 2019 to 88.8% for the class of 2021. And again, because that increased, the 2-year colleges decreased to 1.8 for the class of 2021. Mrs. Nicoletto keeps track. We ask all of our students to give us the data on whether or not they were accepted into schools, how much money they've received from schools, how much money they've received from scholarships, national scholarships, local scholarships, and we keep track of it. This helps us to better serve our population and our students. And this is just, you know, some positive information. Last year, our students received $61,000 worth of scholarships to the colleges that they've applied to. So we're really proud of this, and we continue to encourage all of our students to apply and to apply to all types of schools and then kind of compare things later. But we're pretty proud of this, and we want to continue to help serve our students.
This is a chart of the last 3 years where our students had decided to attend college. As you can see, we've had students attend lots of Tier 1 colleges. Some of the colleges they've attended are Duke, Boston College, MIT, and Villanova. The trend of our students traveling to other geographic areas is represented as well. On the list, we have the University of Arizona, University of Florida, and the University of South Carolina. So we see this trend continuing with our students, and so we have exciting things planned for them the next couple of years.
So that concludes our slideshow. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have at this time.
Actually, we have two open. Do you want to come
Yeah.
to the table? So
Sure,
we can-
yeah, whatever's
it's a little
easier,
more round table. We had microphones, so just easier.
One of the things I just wanted to clarify is College Cafe has not started yet, so some of you may be wondering. This is a new initiative, and we're going to start it within the next month. We're making it a club. And again, it's extra help for kids individually or in small groups, because the college application process is so difficult for kids and for parents. So it's sort of making it even more of a private type of school option. So really giving a lot of support to our seniors and maybe to some kids who really don't have the help at home, so that we can also invite them in for that. And for junior year, making it sort of like a college application boot camp, but where we're going to make it, you know, an inviting place for kids. We know how hard the application process is for everybody. So this is just something extra that will make Tuckahoe much more special in this process.
So they would join it like a club?
They would join it, or they'd be invited in like a club. It would be
Okay.
like a club. It could be during lunch.
They can sign up or
bring
drop
some
in.
pizza.
Right.
We'll-
Would be during
we'll
school
charge- yeah,
during school
yeah,
hours?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's good. All right. We can just kind of, you want to go around? Laura, you have anything?
I did. So I had a few questions, so I'll try not to take up all of them, but you can just jump in if you want.
Dr. Monahan? maybe
So
one.
how are the schools, how are schools determined to be reach, safe, et cetera?
Sure.
What are the factors that
Sure.
create what that looks like?
So we
those
typically use Naviance as one of the biggest tools to help. The two biggest indicators to getting into a college still at this point are transcript and strength of transcript, like GPA and class choice, and still the SAT and ACT score. And even though colleges are test optional at this point due to COVID, they still really encourage students to send in the scores. So when we pull up those graphs, which I'm sure you've seen us use on Naviance, that graph really helps us to decide if it's a safety target or reach school. So if they're above all the green check marks, we know it's a safer school for them. If they're below them, we know it's a little bit of a reach. Or if they're in that area, we typically call that a target school.
Okay. I wanted you to say that just so parents
Sure,
who are
yeah.
getting to this point, they have a little bit of an understanding of how that is determined. And also, you talked about, we're expanding our list of Tier 1 schools, et cetera. And welcome to Tuckahoe. I haven't had the chance to actually meet you yet.
Thank you.
So,
Just one moment, I'm very sorry. Can I just move your microphone
oh,
closer?
sorry, yes.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so how is the guidance department, or what are the plans for the guidance department to beef up because part of what helps market our students is for the guidance department, that would be you, to develop relationships with maybe some schools that you haven't had relationships with in the past. And I mean, that's calling and really marketing our students and telling them why our students are great. And that requires some legwork, that requires phone calls and that sort of thing. So is there a plan to beef up what that looks like? And the reason I say that, and everyone here has heard me say this before, I'm going to say it again. So when my daughter was here, graduating in 2014, gosh, it seems like I'm going by fast. She, at that time, and I believe, and I'm pretty sure of this, was the first student really who had applied and had actually gotten into Villanova, and that wasn't because that was something that the guidance department really pushed. That was something that her parents pushed. So my concern is because we have students here whose parents may not
No.
know and are able to do for whatever reason, it is important to me that we're doing our part to really market our students and really encourage them. And part of that process would be for you to develop relationships and sort of get out of even some of the ones that we're so typically used to being accepted to.
Yes, and I think we've been really making a push towards that the last 4 years. In some of our meetings, I sit there and some of the parents will tell me their list of schools. In other meetings, the parents may not have any idea, and I will sit and recommend school after school. And I've been personally trying the last few years to push people outside of their comfort zones a little bit, schools that they may not have thought about or not your typical schools like you just mentioned. I'm also happy to keep learning and meeting people. I would love to get out there. We have programs also Ms. Nicoletos uses, like through Naviance now, where she could send out an email to admissions representatives all over the nation if we need to connect with people. Even for our college fair, obviously, it's small and we're a small school, but she's able to access everybody's emails. So there's different programs now that we can reach the admissions officers a bit easier. Mm-hmm. But I think more than anything, we're willing to kind of get out there and meet people, and even if that's a visitor too.
Yeah.
One of the things that's been very advantageous, and I don't know if you've been in the paper this weekend, I saw what we're looking to have our students outreach to other parts of the country and other universities, like you said, is other universities and other parts of the country are looking for students from the Northeast area, specifically Westchester and Nassau, where the top schools in the country are. So this weekend there was an article on the University of Alabama, and we've had at least 5 students who graduated recently, the past couple of years, go to the University of Alabama. Mm-hmm. They want our students because of the education we offer here. And basically, in the article, don't quote me, I think they were number 5 in National Merit Scholars in the University of Alabama I'm talking about. So a lot of the southern schools, southeast schools are looking for our students. So thanks to the internet technology with virtual meetings, mm-hmm. We can have these college reps come in. So we're working with them in that, and we've seen obviously the outgrowth. High Point University is another hot school. So we had a counselor go down there before Phil came on to meet with High Point, to visit the place, and he came back. And I don't have the number in front of me, but a number of our students have applied and are looking to go to High Point. So, we're trying. I think the pandemic set us back.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend that basically, we were rolling along and kept going. But, so that's one of our initiatives, though. It's great for our students to get out there because it's a global world.
I think if you look at the list, actually, what I've seen is a huge difference in the last few years
Oh,
since
yeah.
I've been here. Like when you look at the list up there, first of all, there are a lot of very popular schools and hard to enter schools on that list all over the country. University of South Carolina, University of Florida, Miami. Those are not easy schools to get into.
Georgia Tech.
Penn, Georgia Tech, of course MIT and the other schools, but there are a lot of really high-ranking schools on that list from all over the country. I feel like you actually have made a very big effort, and I think bringing Phil on, Mr. Treglia, because he has that, the private school from the students you've dealt with, that you have relationships with counselors too, correct?
Yes, that's what I was going to say to you. I said, connections is important, and Jessica and I are willing to pick up the phone, cultivate new relationships,
That's great.
build relationships, and we're even I'm laughing because even today we were encouraging one of our students who was very strong for he to send an email to the admissions reps of the college that he's applied to so that they can hear from him and he can share all the exciting things he's been doing in the last 2 months to build that relationship with the admissions reps, to get his foot in the door. So we're going to piggyback that, and we're going to keep that going with all of our students to encourage them to reach out, but we will reach out as well. And, we're open to visiting colleges if the college is allowing visitors on campus, and then when we allow visitors on our campus to make those connections with the new reps. Because a lot of the reps have moved on as well due to the pandemic. So there's new relationships to form. It's perfect time for change right now.
So a little inside baseball from you guys, and you're kind of alluding to it already. Like, how much of the school that the kid is applying from, the student's applying from, matters? And you alluded to it already as well about a lot of schools wanting our students.
Yeah, they do.
So like, what is it? What do they go by to decide what school attracts them as to where they want to get applicants from? Just so I understand a little more. Is it just straight up like state test scores? Like, what do they look at that really says, hey, that's a school we want to get some more kids from?
Again, I think it's strength of transcript is big, but they're not just looking to see you have a 95 GPA. They're looking to see that you've pushed yourself and you have that 95 GPA and you're taking honors classes and you're involved. We always say that obviously the two biggest indicators are the GPA and the score, but they want to see the student as a whole. They want to see the extracurricular activities. They want to see the college essay. We've seen a really a big focus on now. I think that's a big differentiating factor where a student can really show their personality and who they are through that essay. So we've been, I've been spending a lot of time in my meetings discussing that and the importance of having a creative essay and kind of setting yourself apart. So I think that's important. And it depends on the school what they're looking for. There's some schools that it's harder to get New York applicants because they rather in-state students. So it depends on each individualized school, but we could help during the meetings to kind of let you know which ones, what they're looking for.
They're looking at our school profile.
Yeah.
We're offering 12 AP classes.
Right.
So they want to see, how are our students challenging themselves to what we have to offer. So
Is the fact that we're small an advantage or disadvantage in their eyes?
It depends on the college. It depends on what they're looking for. I think sometimes being small is an advantage.
Yeah,
Because you
I
get
would
to
think
know
so.
them so well, you can write the
Right.
recommendations so well, the teachers know them intimately, and they can really describe the student to them and how they are in the classroom. Some of the larger schools, the counselor's writing 50, 100, more than that, more than 100 recommendations. So I don't think
Right.
we get the special,
Right, the same
specific treatment than we do here at Tuckahoe.
Yeah.
And I think just adding in the College Cafe, that we could really help kids get the essays right, which is, again, a really big part. It could really, two kids could be very similar, but you have the right essay. And they're not just looking at extracurriculars. If your kids work, I find at least
We have them put down their work experience
Work
as
experience
extracurriculars.
and-
It shows responsibility
Yes.
and, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the resume is a good idea, but it's funny, some of the schools don't let you submit a
No,
resume.
some it's optional, you can upload
Right.
it, others you can't, but as long as you can fit it into the activity section, it's
Yeah,
usually.
right,
Yeah.
you get it in there that way.
And the resume also helps the teacher who's writing the recommendation
Yes.
gain knowledge of the person they're writing the recommendation to.
Well, that's interesting, because my daughter did a resume, but I don't think she shared it with her teachers.
Some of the teachers
That's
ask
actually a
for
good
it.
idea.
The teachers have
Yeah.
different policies. Usually, sometimes they ask the students to fill out a form, sometimes just send a resume if they have it, but each
Yeah.
teacher is different.
And with the smallness of the high school, the teacher recommendations have to be much more personal.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
some of our
yeah.
teachers have had kids at least 2 years, some of them had 3 years. So they know the student very well, they know the families, and, and some of our teachers are inundated. I give them so much credit. They're writing 20, 25 letters of recommendation above teaching 4 preps, so it's really, but, they love the kids and they want to make sure that what they're writing is really going to be very helpful.
I feel like the having the pandemic certainly had its downfalls, but there's been some great things that have come out of it, like pushing us as educators outside of the proverbial box and how we're used to doing things, and making us really get out there and really just do some things rather than resting on our laurels. And with that comes my next question. So we have, I love the idea of the, what did you call it?
College Cafe.
Yeah, College Cafe. I love that. That sounds great. So and then now that we have the virtual interviews and that sort of thing now, that's been great for those kids who are not able to visit the campus and those sort of things, and sort of visit around and make sure they know where they want to go and really see what it's like. But the downside of that is, being that my kid was one of those ones that went through all of that and didn't have the advantage of really having like the on-campus visits and whatnot. Like, we took them, but nobody was there. I mean, so couldn't really, get the real feel of the whole experience. That having been said, for those kids, when things are back to normal, and I think they slowly are becoming back to normal at most campuses, and they are doing, the interviews and the tours and that sort of thing. For those students in our district who don't have the resources to make those sort of trips, have we thought about ways that we can support them in those visitations?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, actually.
Good,
And
good.
Pony on that before you answer, when we get back to normal,
Right.
Is there a way we could provide some sort of transportation if we did like a group trip to a certain school, where we can maybe provide transportation? I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if that's.
So Miss D in the past has actually taken the 8th graders to 2 college visits a year, and so that was, obviously, everyone could access it. It's also the benefit of our in-school fair, is just to access the representatives that are in our in-school fair are the ones that are actually reading the students' applications. So we get to know them over the years, and if they see a student's face and get to know them after a few visits, it's helpful. So that's good as well. And then, I think that's something to think about is
Well, it's
a trip.
something, kids go to all different schools and we're so small, so it's something to look at, maybe doing something like that through the foundation or something like that. To get some, if 1 or 2 kids are going to one school, it'd be very hard for us to transport that.
No,
student.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You could
It's
also
hard
do
to
like a
find.
group share, like if Lori is going to Villanova for the day, right? And she could say, like, I'm willing to take 5 kids and like a sign-up genius.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
PTA organizes
Right.
stuff like that
Yeah,
all the
that's a
time.
great idea.
PTA,
And
that's
parents
great.
could
Is
easily,
that a sign-up sheet?
Yeah.
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 Because schools really like when you visit.
Yes, they do.
They love, to just sign up, and it's not like, when you're visiting, it's fun to go with friends, because you don't really have your interview there, so you could just.
Well, not only that, but it's also, these kids, I think, rightfully so, get stressed out about like what school they want to go to, and it's hard to really get a
huge
sense of a school
decision.
from a fair.
Yeah,
Like,
of
you
course.
need to go there and really
Of course,
see,
you can step foot on campus.
to get a sense of,
Yeah.
this is a place where I can see myself in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good idea,
PTA is
Therese.
a good idea.
It's a really good idea,
you,
letting parents sort of like, work off of each
Or
other.
for college.
Yeah.
Yeah, have
You
some
know
sort
I'm
of
all
a,
about delegating in the
yeah,
village.
maybe something on the website where we could kind of like coordinate
or-
that,
I do want to say that there are organizations that will do college tours prior to the the pandemic. I don't know when
Yes,
those
I've
kind
had
of things.
students do that, who
yeah.
you can, if you qualify, you can sign up, they'll take,
Right.
some are bus tours, some you can actually fly. Some schools do free, like, fly-ins, depending on if you qualify again, so we're always keeping our eye out for that, and if a student's actually interested in the school offering it.
Right.
So I think that's a great idea as well, and
Yeah.
and a way for
And
everybody
maybe
to
also
access it.
leveraging some of our neighboring school districts if they're interested in,
Yeah.
if you get a bunch of kids from Eastchester and Bronxville that want to go see your school, maybe then it makes sense to get transportation.
And I like the idea of the PTAs, coming up with something like that.
That
Yeah,
would be
yeah,
terrific
that's a
if
good
they
idea.
could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're very good at organizing things. And I really feel like people may not take the initiative to offer, but are happy to volunteer,
Yeah.
And everyone has a multi-person car, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you
Lots
can
of
you can
minivans
actually
and
hit,
SUVs around here.
you can actually hit a few. I mean, that's what we did with both my children before. It's like, we're in the DC area,
Yeah,
we're
do a
going to
couple-
hit all
schools,
these
yeah.
schools in this area, and, you could do it that way, you know what I mean? So they're hitting more than one,
I
so
think
that's
that-
good.
And possibly, we could talk to the PTA, and then through our College Cafe, we could find out a little bit more. Maybe some kids don't know how to access, they don't have, their parents may not be connected to the PTA, and start to help
That would be
students other
great.
ways.
That would be great.
So,
It would
Lori,
be easy to cluster too, because if you think about it, like New Jersey or the Philly
Right,
area
exactly.
or Connecticut, you can easily hit a few schools in a day within a drive.
That's exactly right, for
Even
a
for
full
working
day.
parents, this was hard.
It is
right?
very hard for working parents. Yeah, it's just not, when I say not accessible, that could be it, that the parents are working, they can't really, get there. I mean, it's a deal, it's a job.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, it's a lot.
And visiting
Yeah.
in the summer, the campuses are empty.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Or
So
on
you want to go during
Yeah.
when they're active, during the school year, so, yeah.
You mentioned something earlier, Lori, too, about, some of the changes that COVID brought about. And we see in the workforce, there are some changes that are probably permanent, and some things that won't go totally back to normal, maybe in a good way. So I wonder, we mentioned, SATs and ACT score tests. A lot of that's been test optional because of COVID. I know you said that they still recommend it, but do you guys see any change in trend with that? Do you think the future of those tests are still solid, or you think it's going a little bit
I
away?
think it's still solid, and if
Yeah.
anything, actually, almost more so, because more students were applying test optionally. The colleges have a harder time deciphering who's
Yeah.
appropriate and who's not, and I
Yeah.
think, sadly, maybe they've realized that they're very dependent on those scores.
Right, right.
They may not be fair. We all know the pluses and minuses of them. But from what we've been hearing and reading, I think it is still pretty important.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was happy to hear you say in your presentation that, was it this year only that you guys called those that didn't sign up for the prep
Yeah,
courses?
so in the past, we've called them down. This year, we made sure we called home if
That's
we could,
great.
if they couldn't
That's
come
great.
down. Like,
Really
it's a
good.
free program.
It's a free
Yeah.
There's no
Right.
reason
Yeah.
every student shouldn't take
And
advantage
once again,
of
this
it.
is some of the things that we could do as a small district that
Yes.
a big district couldn't do.
Correct,
So
correct.
that's great.
And we offer the ACT on the Superintendent's Conference Day, so
Yeah.
they don't miss any school. And
Yeah.
then the day before Thanksgiving, the SAT was given.
Yeah.
So it's a half day, so.
When does the Jumpstart program happen?
So we started, what was the first
We
date?
start right away. The process is we put out bids to other companies, and I'll give you a little bit of the background. We've had this program with, not the same program, but with larger groups, and frankly, it wasn't successful. So you need small groups, so we'd have groups of 3, and Jumpstart really catered to us, and so we put out, a request for proposal in September, and basically you approved it, and basically they give us the practice test, they give both tests, they grade them, and then they have consultations with the families going on right now, really.
Yeah, by the end of December,
Right.
and then
So-
they begin.
That I'm familiar, because I remember it being discussed. I meant, when does it actually physically take, is it throughout the
Beginning of-
school day? Is
Oh,
it
no.
after
No, it's
school?
after
So
Is
school.
it actually depends on each group. They work with each family to
Yeah.
figure out when the 3 people can meet. So for
Okay.
some, if they're in athletics, then it would be maybe on the weekend is better, or in the, evening. So it depends. Each group can decide
Okay.
when it's best for them.
They've been a terrific partner because they work with the councils too about, well, who gets along? There's always, something, what's going to work, what's not going to work.
Yeah.
So they're in consultation with the
Oh,
council.
great.
Yeah.
And I just have, sorry.
I just was going to say, it's so impressive that we have this program in our school.
Yeah, it's great. Hopefully the funding stays there.
Yeah.
Where does that funding come from? It's a donation.
Donation,
Yeah.
But is it
The
something that somebody adds to every year?
The Carapella family.
Yeah.
No.
Donated, this is Angela the state of Angela Carapella. They donated for scholarships, to be honest with you. And, it was an ample sum, so I called a lawyer, a state lawyer, and I asked him to consult with the family if they were willing to use it. I thought we would get more scholarships with better SAT scores.
Yeah, absolutely.
For everybody, and giving everybody, an award at graduation. And we still do that. The Angela
Right.
Carapella is giving out graduation. But this fund, now you're reaping dividends on
Yeah.
this program.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's
so-
fantastic.
Was,
Yeah.
was it a one-time donation or it's every year that comes?
It was a one-time donation that is held in like a trust and agency account, and then we draw every year
then we draw it out.
to
Yep.
fund this.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's
so it's not like a perpetual.
Okay, so then do we know how long it lasts for?
Depends each year on what the sign-up is, but there's probably a couple more years left of it.
We also have another award that
Yes.
was accepted, so
Yeah, we just
we're
had,
looking,
we just had
looking good for
another
a couple of years.
Okay.
donation.
So when you talked about the money slide, is that per student?
The scholarship slide?
Yeah.
On the $61,000? Then no, so that's a combination of all the scholarships earned by.
Of the class as a whole?
No, hold on one second. Let me double check. So it is the 61,000.
Is that like money's offered or?
It's the money offered, I think, and I'll double check with Mrs. Nicolatos tomorrow, but that's through our guidance. So those are like through our local scholarships.
That's not
what's
the
available.
scholarships
That's
that
local
FAFSA.
So that's not like the college is saying you have $20,000 a
A
year.
lot of our kids do get merit scholarships, so
Yeah.
I'm like really impressed.
Right, so that's what I thought that
The
number
debt-
was, the average money offered per kid.
That's the scholarships kids.
No, these are the local scholarships that we offer around our community that our students are able to access.
And this year,
Oh, I
because
see.
of
Yeah.
the College Cafe, we're going to expand that just because we've always had the same local ones, but there's a lot of other ones out there.
We just
that
got a
meet
new one too, yeah.
Profiles of other kids.
Yes.
Also.
Family decides to offer a scholarship, that would be that.
Yeah.
I think also they call them grants too, right, when they get the college, they don't actually call it a scholarship.
Yeah,
Depends on what-
it depends on what the
Yeah.
college is offering, but these are what we locally put up.
Right. And we're going to continue to look for others that are
Yes.
local and national and, to see, there's ones for people who want to be future teachers.
Yes.
And there's one specific for, African Americans, and there will be one, just the same way we have ones for Italian Americans. So we try to match it to students and, what they might want to be.
That would
or
qualify.
how they relate and who would qualify. Because I think that was something that Ms. Gerald brought up at one of the meetings.
It was, yeah, so.
Dr. Gerald, excuse me.
That's
I'm
okay,
so
it's
sorry.
okay, I'm still
I knew it
missed
didn't sound
too.
right. Dr. Gerald.
Yeah, I did bring that up because I saw pretty much the same setup from 2014 when my first child graduated and then 21 when my second child graduated. We were kind of new to the district when my first one came. She came in as a junior, so we only had that one experience. But then when I saw like similarly the same thing happening where it was like, from my vantage point, the same few kids getting all the scholarships, all of the money. It was just, I don't even know if it were merit-based, I'm not really sure. But it seemed very skewed to a particular group of people or certain kids. I thought that was very unfair. And not that, I'm part of many organizations and we do give, specific scholarships for specific groups of people. But my issue was that isn't diversified within this district. It's one group and it doesn't seem to be an effort to seek out other organizations or ethnic organizations that could also benefit other students that we have here. So
We're
I would
trying
like to
that,
see,
yeah.
that really needs to change. And also that when we're looking at organizations, maybe that we're bringing up, and maybe Peter can speak to that as well, maybe we should think about what that looks like in our district and who what organizations we allow to come in if it's just heavy on one sort of end.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
we-
diversified.
Yeah, we talked about, in addition to, on top of Lori's observations, the idea of getting more scholarship opportunities obviously is one piece of it. The other piece of it is, and this is more of a, maybe for a different topic, but whether or not it's appropriate to award those scholarships at the end of the year award ceremony in our school, if they're going to be for only certain groups.
Yep,
Not to say that it's okay to get that, but maybe it's not appropriate to do it here.
Yep.
But that's really kind of a different discussion, I think. In terms of this discussion, I think what would be good for you guys to do is try and see if you can get more scholarship opportunities in here.
scholarships.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, the more, yeah, we
Like
would
some
love
from
that.
some
Yeah.
corporations, and as you were saying, vocation, interest, that sort of thing. They're definitely out there, and a lot of these scholarships go untouched because people don't even
Tap into it.
apply.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look at them.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some, and in our individualized meetings, I try and encourage students to even, a lot of times where maybe a mom or dad will work, will offer scholarships. There are scholarships in places we don't necessarily know all the time, and it's important to ask, and even ask family, friends. And then we're open to it. We'd love to, and we'd love to seek out, and we want to add. We just added a new scholarship for students attending community college. So we'll continue to try and do that and grow.
Which,
Yeah.
by the way, I love that there was a scholarship specifically for those students who are
Yeah.
considering a 2-year school.
Yeah.
I think that is terrific.
Yeah. So.
And if we can find a skill-based, I don't know, like
Technical.
yeah, scholarships, that would be great, because not everybody's college bound, but
Yeah,
they
of course.
make great electricians and plumbers. We need them in our lives. You know what I mean? And so if we can even get that going, that would be great too.
Yeah, we got to talk, a lot of the kids apply to scholarships where their parents work.
Yeah.
And, and that's
Yep.
what goes on.
Yep.
But, we did add 2 scholarships this year. We'll continue to
Keep working on it.
expand
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Good.
I liked what I saw in terms of the percentage of our kids that apply and go to 2 or 4-year colleges. For that few percent that do not, so the percentage is always weird in the school because we're so small.
Yeah.
2% could be
Skewed a
like
little bit, yeah.
three
Yeah.
kids, right?
Right.
So
Not even.
yeah, exactly. So what are we talking about in terms of numbers, like per year? How many of our students in the graduating class choose not to go to college? Is it like it's just a handful?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's literally just a
Usually
handful.
under a handful.
So what do we do with those folks? Is it usually typically clear to you guys in the beginning of the year who those couple of kids are going to be who opt not to apply to college or go to college?
It depends year by year. Sometimes it could be a student who wants to go to a trade school, and we'll work with them
Right.
and connect them with that. It could be a special education student who has another plan in place it's not appropriate to attend college. So we will know some ahead of time. But if it's not college and they do have a goal, we are there to support them. And even if it's special education, we're part of that process as well to help them.
Do you guys proactively reach out for them and talk to them and bring them in and say, hey,
Oh, yes,
yeah,
we
because-
meet with everybody,
right.
even if that's not
Well, I
their
think
Right,
for the
right.
special ed kids, it would be definitely a ongoing conversation with the IEP.
Yeah,
Yes,
no,
correct, and that's done
probably
yearly,
Its
yeah.
own,
Yeah.
its own system,
Right,
yeah.
and again, Dr. Sweeney's here tonight, but there are certain special education students that transition in a different way than to post-secondary than a more typical special education student who would be going through a lot of the same processes as a general education student.
But either way, we're part of the process.
But you're
Yeah.
part of the process even if they're going to a more of an adult transition.
Correct.
In the past, we had BOCES where they went from
Yeah.
vocational ed, so that's been avoided. And that's hard to make up.
No, I know, I think it was 2 years ago,
Yeah.
you talked about
We did,
trying to
yeah.
bring that back, and I think, that, and I would love to talk about that again. I think that the problem last time, from our perspective, was, I know not everybody was on the board at the time, but was,
How do you pick who goes?
yeah, it was a very,
remember
I think we
that
could only
conversation.
afford I think only like 2 slots were being put forth.
Well, yeah, and I think the question you just asked, just the kids who really aren't going to a
Yeah.
two-year, that was my recommendation.
Right,
The kids who really don't have the opportunity for a 4-year, 2-year
Right.
college, and really, they're
Maybe
trade
that's
driven.
Maybe when we do the budget
Yeah,
process,
I-
this would be
Yeah.
something that Dr. Sweeney might want to bring up, because there are students that,
Yes.
are transitioning, and it behooves us to help get them a.
That's right.
I look
It's
into,
critical to their
trade-
success.
Trade unions, and, anybody who's listening out there, electrician, plumbers.
Yes.
And all the unions say they're not taking, apprentices or whatever they're, you look for programs for kids.
Yep.
Well, what's been very frustrating in New York State is, and why it's made it harder, is that if you want to be a plumber or electrician, while you're in school, in high school, you have to still take all the regions. Very different than, at least when I went to school in New York, where you could go to a trade high school,
Right.
to BOCES, and really learn a trade. For students, it's additional to everything they do.
They still have to
So-
meet their credit requirements. So their
BOCES did
schedule
that.
changes in 11th and
BOCES
12th
did do
grade.
that.
Yeah, they did,
Yeah.
and they meet some of their credit offerings at BOCES.
So I can tell you from my perspective as a board member that year, I felt like, I'm just being honest, I felt like it wasn't clear enough how the program would be executed, because I think we were talking about a very large number for like two slots or something like that. And I am not opposed to the idea, me personally, I like it, I like the idea a lot. But what I'd like to see, me personally, is just a little bit more broken down, if we can afford 2-3 slots, how that would be executed in terms of what the process would be for picking which kid would go, and all that. And also, the number was very large, and most of that driver was transportation.
Yes,
I believe.
yes,
that is
and that's always.
And I
Yeah,
will
so
say-
is there some other alternatives we can come up with maybe for transportation?
Probably not, but the thing is, BOCES is extremely expensive. in
You know, I know,
terms of
it
this
was-
alternative for kids, and I'm kind of mixed on that, because kids can go to post-secondary
Right.
education after some of them even struggle getting through high school, but there are those kids that are the true kids that are transitioning and are probably not going to go to community college. Maybe those are the ones we look at, because the BOCES program is extremely expensive on top of transportation.
Also, one year you could have like 5, and the next year maybe only 2.
But once you have 5, you have to get them through 4 years. Yeah.
That's
It's a 2-year
2
program,
years.
so it's
But then
11th and
let's say
12th
they're-
grade, so you have to commit
You
to
have to
that.
But I
Decide in
think
the
when we
sophomore
talked about it, we only had in the budget for, like you said.
I think it was 2 slots is all we could afford.
Right, and
potentially.
we were saying, like, well, what if there's 5 kids that qualify?
How
are
are we
you
deciding that?
gonna?
Yeah, that was a
And then
concern.
we're a public school, so it's supposed to be equal for all, and
Yeah.
then,
And I know in the past, I think we used to have in the past, my understanding was that there were some kids that took it and then wound up going to college.
Probably.
And look, you can't have a perfect system, it's gonna happen
Right,
sometimes.
and most of.
And not that you don't want a kid to go to college, it's always a good thing,
And
but I
most
mean, in
of our
terms of hitting,
students-
Some of the
targeting the
trades
right.
require, though, 2 years.
Yeah.
It's
Most of
amazing now. It's
Exactly,
not that,
so it's
you
not
know.
like BOCES used to be, when I went to school, where you came out, you had your degree, and you were ready, and you could, work in cosmetology, or you could be an electrician. A lot of them do want college, and a lot of our
Yeah.
kids go to college, and it's nice to have that 2-year experience.
Yeah. No,
I think
know.
we miss some of the kids that are not going in that direction, that maybe we look at.
But in addition to that option, we do, for those like Dr. Grimmer was saying that want to go to trade school after high school, and we have the BOCES program, we do point in the right direction.
Absolutely.
We know those programs.
Yes,
are, and we
yes,
point in the
yes,
right
But
yes,
they can go to those.
Yeah.
then.
We've had, the year before last, yes, absolutely. I had one student who's
Yeah.
currently there still, yes, absolutely.
And we have students join the service sometimes.
Yeah.
They want to join
Yes.
military.
Yeah. That's a good way to pay for college, get the GI Bill.
But also, it's a great way to help the country out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm a big proponent of that, for sure. I'll advocate for making sure you get those forms in after you apply for college, because we forgot to do that, and I had to bother Ms. Pearl all morning this morning to help clean up that mess and get the transcripts across. I appreciate that.
No
Thank-
problem.
You're a living testament to how helpful you could be. So, thank you. I was scrambling all day with her today, so. Anything else, Lori?
No, those were my main
Okay.
questions,
That
yeah.
11th grade meeting you spoke about.
Yes.
That's just a student meeting?
No, parents.
Yeah, how come I don't remember that? It's a blur, right? 3 of them, so it's.
I think you were there.
I'm sure I was there. Everything's a blur. I have no concept of time anymore.
Yeah, all of those, the 9th, 11th, and 12th grade meeting are all with.
The 9th
parents
ones are
as
still
well.
going on, right?
Yeah, we're finishing them up.
Next week.
Yeah, exactly. We're just about done, yeah.
Cool, all right. Therese, anything else?
no.
All right. Well, Laura did send me a couple of questions. I think we talked about just about everything she brought up. Let me just look at her list real quick and make sure I didn't miss anything. I think we pretty much, in some way or another, we hit all these items, so I think we're good. All right. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to sit with us. Appreciate you missing the football dinner. You and I missed our meal today, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
For that.
Thank you, thank you.
We're very
Oh,
happy
actually,
to have you aboard.
I do have one more question. So,
Yeah.
what does the guidance office need in terms of going forward? And obviously, you articulate this to Dr. Goodman. We have budget season coming up soon.
Yeah.
Like, what are the needs? Where do you guys think that you're short? If you do think you're short?
That's a good, let us think about it a
Yeah.
little bit, and
Yeah.
then we can let Dr. Goodman know.
We can present it in our budget
Yeah.
presentation. You can
Yeah,
let
we
Dr.
have a
Linehan
process at the
know.
high
Yeah.
school with the
Yeah.
faculty meetings. I
Yeah.
talk to them about this year's budget, current one, and next year's budget. So all the teachers and the guidance counselors are aware it's time to start thinking.
Yeah.
And because when we come back after the holiday,
Because I
they
kind
will
of,
tell you, we're in budget season.
I kind of feel like with a school our size, your office is sort of a secret weapon.
Yeah.
It can be a secret
Yeah.
weapon. It should be a secret weapon. You know, that we can get a lot of value out of it. So if there's something that
Okay,
can
yeah,
add
let
a
us
little
think
more
a little
value
bit.
to that we're missing,
Sure, yeah,
you know,
thank
make
you.
sure you bring it to our
I think
attention.
adding the College Cafe, which will be
Yeah.
something that we'll put on the budget because it is a club for this year. We're hoping to, we'll present that on Monday to you. It's not that expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But that is like one of the things that maybe we could beef that up a little bit
Yeah,
next
absolutely.
year.
Well,
College visits, you guys can go on college
Yeah.
visits, things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, great.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Thank you very much.
Thank
Very
you
nice,
so much.
very good presentation.
Thank you very much.
Very
We
good.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we got just a little bit of business. Should not take very long at all. So we'll move right into that. First up is our consent agenda. Motion to approve consent agenda items 2 through 6. I have a motion. Perez, second. Lori, any questions or comments on 2 through 6? All in favor? Okay. Next is business of the board. Approve a side letter. Resolve the Board of Education of Tuckahoe Union Free School District hereby approves the side letter agreement dated December 1st, 2021, by and between the district and the TTA, as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and authorizes the superintendent to execute the same. Do I have a motion? Lori, second. Therese. All in favor?
Sorry.
All right, approve a side letter as well. Resolved that the Board of Education in Tuckahoe Union Free School District hereby approves a side letter agreement dated December 3rd, 2021, by and between the district and the TTA as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and authorizes the superintendent to execute the same. Do I have a motion? Lori, second. Therese. Any discussion? So this is to pull back, or to sort of, this is in regards to the block scheduling,
Right.
going back to the normal.
Right.
Yeah, do you want to
So
speak
we're
about that at
go-
all?
Yes,
Yeah.
so we're going back to the 8-period day. I know I got, when I sent out the email, a couple of yays from some parents. So
I got text messages all day from my daughter saying to vote against it.
Really?
Yeah, because she likes the double freeze.
Ah.
It's not for good reasons. Don't worry
And
about
an hour and a half of gym.
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they like
Oh,
it. Yeah.
that's funny. Some of the kids really did like it, I have
Yeah.
to say. 'Cause I
Yes.
polled the
Yes.
kids, the teachers.
I think it also clustered homework and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah,
So
they
I
like
think
it.
from a time management.
Just start a little later.
Yeah, yeah. We also spoke to the teachers, and we also surveyed the teachers. They really preferred the 8-period day. We are still moving along with the innovative teaching and learning,
Yeah.
so that we are still going to do staff development on PBL and other techniques. And we did speak to other districts on how they do it without a block schedule. We'd like to sprinkle the block schedule in next year again. But
What
we're-
was the feedback? I'm just
on the
curious.
8-period day?
Yeah, from you said
Yes.
the teachers, like
Well,
what
I
was
think
their
Some of the
reasoning?
feedback also was for some of the kids. We got a lot of feedback on kids with special needs, so it was hard for them to stay focused for those extra periods. They felt like they weren't seeing the kids enough, that there wasn't the
Consistency.
the consistency. And they felt that they taught better in a shorter time.
So
They were
on the
able to-
gen ed side, did they feel like they weren't maximizing the entire time for some of them?
I think that they felt that they get more done, and they were able to move quicker almost in the 8-period day than the block. I believe that we could still do more training within the block. We started to train within the block. I believe when we train within the 8-period day, we might start to see that some of the techniques that we learn as we get back to normal could be done better in the block. So I don't know if the block is gone forever.
No,
don't
I
think
certainly
so.
hope it's not, because,
I hope
because-
not.
because
Yeah.
if we're going towards more innovative PBL,
Right,
which I
right.
know we're all advocates for,
that's why we're gonna
block
have-
is a necessary piece. But I know what you're saying in
We're
terms of,
saying, right, so the block, PBL is done in some districts without a block. And a lot of districts go first through PBL, and then they start to say, wow, this could work better if we're in a block. We sort of pushed for the block and then tried to fit PBL and different techniques in, and now we're just going back to the 8-period day, and then sprinkling in block scheduling as we also move towards a strategic goal of PBL and innovative teaching and learning. And they'll be trained in that this year.
so do you think it was the teachers that didn't feel like they were being as efficient with it? You think it was more due to not being trained in PBL tactics for a lot of them, or maybe it's more of an not having their curriculum sort of set up from the beginning to be conducive towards PBL? Because I would imagine that,
I would say it was both.
yeah,
Well
because
put.
I would think you sort of have to have your curriculum, I would imagine, I'm not a
Right.
teacher, but I would imagine sort of planned out at the beginning of the year about how you're going to
Right.
use, what projects you're going to do during class. To
Right.
kind of do it on the fly is difficult, right?
I think so. I think it was both. So we are going to start with, very shortly, bringing in a team that Mr. Keough and I have found that have worked with PBL in other districts nearby and used the 8-period day. And they said with some of those districts, then they started to look at, this fits into a block too. And next year we will have block as part of the schedule.
Yep.
But it just won't be as much as we did this year.
How would that be
The
sprinkled in?
blocks-
What does that
The
look
block-
like?
Just
Yeah.
go a little back.
Yeah.
The block truly helped us during the pandemic. I would say that we shut down less than anybody, because when we went back and saw how often students were together, or teachers, we went back 2 days, and sometimes they were just not with as many students. So it did work
So
for
for
us.
the contact tracing, it made it a lot easier, is what you're
It made it a
saying.
lot easier
And cut down on
greatly,
quarantines.
greatly. We've cohorted kids, and we figured out how to do it in the high school. We had our fingers crossed that we would also be moving our strategic plan along. I believe we got some of that work done. I don't think people are as afraid of the block, but when we really did our budget last year, we did say that we were going to sprinkle it in. Then, towards the summer, when we saw that the numbers had the potential to be going back up, we went back to the way we did it last year, to an extent. Now we see, I believe, so it's COVID on one side, which I believe we have more of a handle on, even though it may not feel like that right now. I do believe that we do, because of the vaccine and other factors. And I think that we can train the teachers in block scheduling, non-block, in PBL, and sprinkle within, like we were going to do at the start of this year, the block scheduling, like maybe every 6 weeks we have some blocks. Or, I remember, I don't want to say it off the cuff, but Dr. Linehan spoke about that when we did the budgeting last year.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you say some of the teachers felt like the classes were too long to keep the kids engaged, that says to me, again, not being an expert, that it's not a proper use of PBL in that circumstance, and it kind of goes to your
Yeah.
point, because the whole point in my mind, from what I've done in research, is that the idea of PBL is a longer block, but by getting the students engaged in something hands-on or something practical, it keeps them engaged longer, even though it's a longer period of time. You're not being lectured at for 40, for
Right.
And I don't believe
25
that. I
minutes.
believe that they did not lecture them for 45
Right.
minutes of the day, and I do believe they used the block effectively, if not only with PBL. I did see some positive, like where kids can do independent work, and you can help them. They weren't, I still think it was a successful try at it, but we need to do more training until we go back to.
Were there teachers that wanted to keep it when you did the survey?
There were some teachers that did.
Yeah.
And just by
Was it by subject?
happen chance, were they teachers that have had the training? I'm just curious.
Yeah. Let's keep going.
Well, the thing-
Just keeps going on
well,
that.
first of all, I told them that it was totally anonymous.
Yeah,
So I
okay,
can't tell
okay,
you, because
all right,
really,
all
I
right,
don't
fine.
know.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you don't know, because I'm sitting here thinking, like, is it subject matter? Is it grade? Is it age? Like, what
Right.
are the variables? I'm
I
just
could-
curious
I
as
could
to the
say-
feedback, because
Yeah.
I know, like, a sixth grader who's potentially still, 10 years old, or maybe
Right.
they're not 10. No, they could be. If they have a late birthday coming in, it's going to be very different than a 15-year-old.
Right, and I think that there was some of that, and I don't want to talk off the cuff with how they felt.
Right.
But I have heard that, like, middle school might have been too early to do it, I've heard that from some teachers. But we didn't have a thorough survey, we just got the black and white of it, and we made it, and it wasn't anonymous.
Right, okay.
And so with that, the lockers are back in place, the transitions,
Yes, the
period
lockers are back
times and
in
all
place.
that.
It will take a couple of weeks for them to get them in place, but they're getting back in place. For students who want to use lockers, I think some kids did learn to take less in their bags and maybe will not be using it, but winter's coming, so they probably don't want to carry their coat around.
Okay, well, I mean, I certainly trust your judgment in terms of what's best for this year. I know, I think what you said earlier, and you had mentioned to me one-on-one, we spoke, sort of the right transition is to create the PBL curriculum and training first, and then schedule around that. We kind of did it backwards, right? So you kind of did the scheduling for
Yeah.
COVID, and then we kind of stuffed it in. So I kind of get essentially retreating a little bit, but I just hope we march back down there again, because I do think it's important. I do think it's a big part of the strategy of modern learning and getting more, innovative type learning.
And maybe
started.
it's a matter of maybe like looking at more of the details of it. Like, where was it successful? Was
Yeah.
it certain classes? Was it certain, meaning subject material? Was it certain grades? And then, rolling it out in a different way.
I think as we start training more in PBL and innovative teaching and learning, that we'll see that.
Are you mining that data, by the way? Are you doing exactly what you're saying?
Good.
Thinking so much about the block schedule because it was.
Hey, you want to come up here?
Come on,
We
come on,
can
come on,
hear
take a
you,
seat.
And we have.
For some reason, we don't want to go home
You
tonight.
sit in the hot seat.
I kept looking, I was like, maybe I'll bring Mr. Keto over here.
Yeah, because it was rolled out during the pandemic, one of the other considerations is that because the block was imposed on a traditional period schedule, there were times where there'd be like back-to-back classes that would negatively impact the student's experience going through the block schedule. So you might have math as a subject that you're struggling with, and then have math AIS right after that. So half of your day is math, which might be a subject that you're not enjoying or not
Right.
successful
Or
at.
science and then science lab.
Lab,
Yeah.
for example. So those were elements
a good
that would
point.
need to be worked out.
Yeah.
Also, because of lunch, there would be one class that might meet for the traditional 45 minutes, and then other classes that would still meet for the block. So teachers would have this like lived experience of teaching a traditional 45-minute period class, and then a 90-minute block period. It could be the same class. So their English 9th grade class meets for a 45-minute period a day, and then the other one meets 90 minutes every other day. So they're developing two different curriculums. So in terms of launching a project, that's going to cause an issue. So some of the dynamics of the design of the block were, working against its popularity.
But to Teresa's point, though, were there a lot of sort of lessons learned that you guys got from all this that we could take into the future in terms of how to do it right later
Yeah,
on?
absolutely. Yeah, the ones I just mentioned in terms of like looking at, it's not so simple just to flip a switch and say, let's take this and put it into a block. And I think also making sure, you had mentioned, starting the year with the mindset of a block makes a difference. So,
Right.
when the change was made in August and people had already planned out what the year was going to look like, some of the curricular decisions, the unit planning, the projects they had planned weren't really designed with that in
Yeah,
mind.
I can see that. I can see how that would be a big challenge. I would think you kind of have to be prepared for it the entire year
Yeah.
and kind of map it out with the projects and things of that nature. Well,
And then even with the hybrid, planning it out with, some days that would be blocks, some that aren't, if there's a couple of days in a cycle, if one switches, that was conversation. what days are A, what days are B. Having that planning is something that would need to be mapped out a little bit more in advance. Doing that with a pandemic schedule posed an obvious challenge to the curriculum planning piece.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you can go.
I was actually going to ask you a question. I'm going to bring you into the table too, because I'm just curious. Like, does block scheduling work at all for special ed? I mean, in terms of special needs children, are there good models of block scheduling for them, or is that not conducive to special ed?
Well,
children?
it's depending on which kinds of students and what their needs are.
Right.
In many ways, block scheduling lends beautifully to the ICT model, integrated co-teaching. For example, when you do parallel teaching, when you do station teaching, it allows more time for students and teachers to have that one-on-one time and to go through instruction in multiple ways. You know, with students, typical students need an average of 3 times a repetition. With students with disabilities, it's 6. So if you can get some at least 3 or 4 with the teacher directly in the moment, and then they rehearse it and repractice it over the week's time, you have much better chance of retention. So for students with disabilities, the individual time with teachers, absolutely. But then again, some students with disabilities have the executive functioning challenges and the attention challenges.
Right.
So I think to your point, Chris, it's about meaningful planning, with proper motor breaks and proper engagement and total participation techniques, really infused to make it an active learning environment that's inclusive. And planned out. So it's not just additional time, but it's additional time that's planned well for inclusive and engaging experiences.
Good. Okay.
Might also add to the pandemic piece playing into the block schedule and its reception. A lot of the project-based concepts of collaboration, group work, active moving, sharing of materials, a lot of that was challenged by the pandemic.
Yes.
So in thinking about like the strategic plan and contemporary teaching and learning, going back to that and focusing on that and seeing what structures we can build around to make that successful, I think that we might find more success in that approach.
Great. Okay.
That's going to be great.
Yeah.
Because I would love to see us do that, but it's not going to be good and successful if our teachers are uncomfortable and feel ill-prepared. I mean, they have to be all in, So if we can sprinkle that in and really move, because see I mean, even with myself, when I think about education, it's so easy for us to just jump back in the pre-pandemic box that we were forced out of. So, finding that balance of keeping some of the traditional things that make us great, but then adding in that innovation and those things for next level education, more modern education, and how we look at that is also very key. Moving forward. So if we can get that training in and get our teachers comfortable and, that would be great, yeah.
I actually have one other question about when kids are out of school right now, are they Zooming in? Like if they're out for, whatever reason, medical or whatever, are we still offering that?
So
for the, you know what I'm saying?
for
Let's
kids-
say I have, surgery or whatever.
So what we're doing is we're offering and what New York State is doing, so we're offering it to kids who are out because of COVID. That was our plan. If you're out for something else, there's home instruction that kicks in. If you have surgery, as per New York State, that we have to give you a different type of instruction. We give you a tutor. But for kids, because the hybrid learning of the kids Zooming in has been very challenging also. But we know that for COVID, a lot of kids are quarantined. Like right now, we have about 29 kids quarantined at Cottle. And a lot of them feel fine.
Right.
So they can really, they can Zoom into a classroom. It's not for the sick child at home, though. We do home instruction.
So it's just quarantine, COVID-related quarantines. or Zooming in.
COVID-related quarantine.
Everyone else is sort of
And how
back to
long-
the old ways.
Everyone
And
else
how long is the quarantine time now? Is it still
10.
14 or 10 days rather? It
Yeah,
is
and then we're
10.
looking at this, New York State has some other ideas. I was talking to Rosemary about today, test out of quarantine, and they haven't firmed it up. They keep on sending us different memos, but We'll let you know when that becomes.
Okay.
All right, so we got a bonus workshop here on PBL.
Yeah.
Block scheduling. All right, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes.
We still have to vote on this item.
Yes.
So, all in favor?
What are we voting on?
Proud of me? I didn't-
That was on
On the side letter.
going back
The
to
side
the
letter,
regular,
number
the
2.
8 period
Yeah.
Oh,
day.
jeez. Yes, yes, yes.
That was the discussion.
So long ago. No, I'm kidding. Forgot.
Okay, our last item is personnel recommendations. Resolved that the Board of Education at Tuckahoe Union Free School District approves personnel action items A through H as outlined below. Do I have a motion? Lori, second. Therese, any questions or comments about personnel recommendations? All in favor? Okay, brings us to the end of our meeting. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Therese, second. Lori, all in favor? All right, thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah, happy Vanessa.